If you turn the encoder past all of the effects and modulations, you get to set, which allows you to set the glide present on the Typhon. Also TRC, which stands for tracking, which allows you to set the amount of which the keyboard input from MIDI affects the filter cutoff point in the traditional keyboard effect. And VCO allows you to decide the level of VCO amplitude in your patch in case this is just an effects patch where you're running something into the external input to use the effects and modulation without wanting to deal with the oscillators. So you have the ability to, of course, turn the VCO completely off so that the oscillators built into the Typhon aren't really even part of the patch. So that's cool. And also legato, which is the traditional sort of mini-moog-esque way that notes are connected while you're playing them in a monophonic synth, which you can have on or off if you like that effect or not. Also, if you press the encoder button, you'll get a menu which allows you to synchronize the modulators. It allows you to define what the mod wheel is affecting. It allows you to define what the velocity is affecting, and any of the effects that employ velocity or the sequencing that employs velocity, this is where you would come to set that up. You get to direct what your aftertouch controls, key tracking, of course, and then CC2, you get to define what that affects, the MIDI CCs, pitch wheel, of course. Again, you get to define what you're bending. So you can apparently bend more than just the pitch. You can set the MIDI channel. There's a list of CCs that has to do with MIDI stuff that I know nothing about because I'm just not a MIDI guy. And you can find out the firmware version. And of course, there's a calibration setting. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that those functions are available if you need them. Also, you might also be interested in loading a patch. Which I have not really talked about because I'm more about teaching you the function. But if you want to load a patch, there are patches built in. You hit load, select the bank you want to go into, and then select the patch you want. They're all there. There's a whole bunch of patches. Or if you want to save, hit save, and it will run you through the process of deciding where the patch you're saving is going to go, what its name is going to be, etc. Super straightforward, doesn't even require demonstration. Okay, I mentioned this when we were talking about the modulators, and I said I would loop back to it. So I'm looping back to it now, and that is the cool effect of being able to modulate the effects with the modulators. So I have this modulator set to sample and hold right now, and it's at 0, but the destination is FX1. So let's go to FX1. What do we got going here? We have distortion in the form of bit crush. So let's see if we can make that happen. All I've done here is set the destination to FX1. So that means that this modulator set to sample and hold is going to modulate FX1. Let's see how it works. Okay, that's something has happened. Let's see if we can get something a little more interesting. Oh, weird. I've made probably the weirdest choice, but it's a lot of fun to find weird new things that can happen. We can even switch it up. And keep in mind that you can sync these modulators up with the sequencer. So these effects that we're hearing that are rhythmic could be happening in the rhythm of your sequence, which is super cool. You just saw me turn up the FFM, which is the filter frequency modulation, and know that you can actually direct the modulator to control it instead. So if we wanted to say, let's go to FX2. What do we have FX2 set to? The flanger. Oh, cool. So you can, there's a lot of fun you can have with that. You could certainly also program in steps if you wanted to have exact settings for each of the articulations of the sample and hold sort of idea. You could direct it using the step sequencer in the modulator, which is a really cool thing. So basically you then have two things that you can work with: the settings of the modulator itself and then the settings of the effect. And it gives you an even wider range of possibility. Like, gosh, what happens if we speed this way up? And don't forget, you can use the fade to have the modulation fade in. Let's push it up to FX3. Oh, it just says delay. It's interesting to use the reverb. We're in the reverb setting and not the delay setting. That's obviously the delay time setting. That's fantastic. And then you can push it up to just the effect itself instead of just the delay timing. It's very weird. It's hard for my brain to sort of process this. What happens if we put this on... Probably less noticeable with an envelope. It's such an interesting process. What else we got? And that's it. Yeah, so it's certainly a thing where you could do some experiments and find out exactly how you would like to modulate the amount of effect or certain elements of the effect, like the FFM or the delay time, using modulators. It's a really interesting process. I feel like there's a million things I could be doing right now that I haven't figured out yet. But yeah, it's definitely rife with possibility. And that is modulating the effects with the modulators and the effects present on the Dreadbox Typhon. All right. Well, that is the Dreadbox Typhon.